The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our final session of our New Relic Fundamentals Platform Training, or New Relic Platform Fundamentals Training.
Yeah.
I haven't really worked out a better way to
Relic
say that.
Fun-
Yeah.
Neuralic Fundamentals Platform Training APAC.
Yeah. Platform. Yeah, maybe platform fundamentals. Yeah, because that's we're going through the fundamentals of the entire New Relic platform. That's what we've
Right.
been attempting to cover for the last 6 weeks. It sounds like a really long time, right? But you know that even at the
Yeah.
end of this session, it's basically the same as if you guys came in on a 3-day training with us. That's it. I used to run a lot of
Yeah.
5-day classes in the past, and this one is just like a 3-day class, and we broke it up to make it a bit easier, because it's all
And
virtual.
how was the engagement for you when you did a person to person face to face training compared to this?
So Ganesh, I think there's a couple of things there at play, right? So, psychologically speaking, I think people have, what's the best way to put it? If I try and say it nicely, I think our brains have been reconditioned to be far less attentive, right? Um, so yeah, basically you can't keep anybody's attention for more than 10 minutes now because of these things, right? This little
Yes.
thing. So I guess what I'm saying is before those things were prevalent in society, it was pretty easy to keep somebody engaged. Um, so yeah, and yes, I've been around that long, right? Pre-mobile phone days, pre-social media days, um,
Yeah, pre-social media days.
back when the world was social. Now the world is anti-social. It's social media. Yeah. Um, but look, we got about 60 people. Oh, 60 people. Yeah, it looks like a really big phone. It's because it's got all my cards and things, and it's so old. Look at it. Like the case is like I don't. But actually, it's from 2017 maybe. You know, I'm one of those people as well. Like I'm not gonna replace it unless it's broken, right? Why? You know, I you guys probably you know me enough by now where you're like, this guy's never going to wait out the front of the Apple store or anything. 100% no.
Well, in one of the sessions we did for team engagement a couple of months ago, we asked everyone to show the oldest phone that they have with them. And
Yep.
I saw a guy bringing the Panasonic phone, which is like this big with
Oh
the
wow.
antenna. And he's saying that, so this one belongs to my dad, and I still have it. It's an antique piece at home.
Very nice. Very nice. Um, hey, can I? So, guys, for those of you on the call, look, thanks very much for joining us again for our sixth and final session. Can you maybe give us a bit of a shout out if you've attended every session up to this one? Let us know. Um, we don't worry. Like you can't lie about it, right? We have all the stats. We have everything. But you know what? I only want to know because I just want to congratulate you guys for attending every single one, right? So as I said in the first session, I was making some arrangements with our marketing team to send out some little goodies. I don't know what the goodies are. Okay, I don't know what that's going to be, but for those of you that have attended every single session, we will be correlating that information and we will be sending you something in recognition of your complete and full attendance at the platform fundamentals training. Fundamentals platform training. We can't work out how to call it, but we're going to send you something anyway. So once again, thank you very much for attending the session. Today's topic, I don't know if we can say we saved the best till last. I don't really know if we can do that, but I know Ganesh loves the topic. I love the topic. I can't really say we saved the best for last because, you know, most of these functions of the platform are pretty awesome. So we're just talking about yet another one of the awesome functionalities that you guys get to apply in the New Relic platform. Now, I am just going to very quickly, you know us guys, we don't really like to go through a lot of slides. I only want to bring up one or two things just to make sure we cover key points. Where are we? Yeah, this guy here, and I'm going to share that out now. I think this is the right deck. It's too late now. I've shared it out, right? Oh no. Yeah. So as is typical of our style, I'm not going to go through all the slides. We're just going to cover a couple of key points. That's going to be very important to us. And don't worry, I haven't changed my name. That's not me. I'm not Tom. Tom is my counterpart in Ireland, and he wrote this deck, and I borrow the deck and teach synthetics off of it. So it's very, very handy. Now, let me grab a couple of things that's going to be helpful for us. So look, if we start off here, okay, this is one of the key things we just need to set straight right in the beginning when we're talking about synthetics. It's obviously different to our real-time user monitoring. Okay, we need our real-time user monitoring, and it's going to give us some very, very useful telemetry that will tell us details about the actual utilization that our customers are getting, and it shows us a little bit about their movement patterns as well. So you'll learn things like, you know, what pages are visited the most on your sites, things like that. So that's the real world analysis of how they're actually doing things. On the synthetic side of things, it's not reactive, right? So real-time user monitoring is reactive. The customers do things and then we find out about it afterwards. This is proactive. We are in an ongoing way testing our sites to make sure that what they are designed to do is what they're actually doing. Now, the other thing about synthetics that makes it very, very useful to us and understanding the telemetry is that we use a consistent, predictable platform to run the tests from. Okay, so we'll be talking a little bit more about that during this session, but essentially we have publicly, we have 20 different locations around the world that you guys can use to run your tests from in order to ascertain whether things are functioning the way that they are supposed to function, right? So yeah, that's what we're here to talk about today. Now, I think I've got this guy here is maybe another one I want to talk about. Yeah, this one. So remember last week, we talked about the three key considerations when we are looking at anything sort of front end related, and that's our availability, our functionality, and our performance. I don't know about you, Ganesh, but I generally tend to find if I had to rate these in terms of what people are successfully addressing, okay, maybe put it that way, I would say that they probably, I'd say 70% will, or maybe 60% address the availability aspect. And maybe you'll get 30% will also address performance, but only 10% really look at functionality. So I don't know, I'll pass it over to you for a second. I mean, this is in terms of what people are successfully monitoring today, and what I generally observe is people have a bit of a good idea on the availability, somewhat on performance, and really not much on functionality.
That is correct. So what happens with a lot of customers that I see is that they use ping monitors for health checks, right? That's pretty common. Almost every one of their microservices have a health check API. So to just enable that one, that's fine. But when it comes to performance, right? So unless and until the customer start using the scripted browser or a simple browser, they they definitely take a look at that performance from scripted browser and simple browser. But functionality is something that they purely depend on what the real customer is doing most of the times, right? There were situations when a new functionality is something that the customer is trying to deploy to production, and they really wanted to do all the checks as part of beta even before handing it over to the customer. So just like how you mentioned, using synthetic monitoring, ping checks and performance are take the first priority, but functionality is actually picking up now because of use cases like this. Just like how I mentioned, customers really may want some functionality that they want to put it on production, test it out from like 15, 20 locations for like a day's time, and then see if something is going to break. And yeah, that's where we get the scripted browser functionality.
Yeah, I think I'm sure that most of you have, you can remember a time, and it's probably something pretty recent, where you perhaps needed to perform a function online, right? Maybe you need to order some food, or you want to order a product, or you need to register for a service, or anything, right? You go online, and you probably find that the site responds, right? So you type the URL, and everything loads up. It's all fine, right? And it's only once you start drilling down and you start getting into that maybe slightly more obscure functionality, because typically it tends to be maybe the requests that don't get performed that often. So it could be like a government service, and you go to the site, and there might be 4 or 5 things that people do all the time, and those things work. But there might also be a couple of ancillary services where, oh, you can also do this, or you can also do that, and it's not something that people do often. And I find that it's happened to me several times, where I go to do something that can be done online, and the site's working, the performance is good, everything's fine. As soon as I go to that thing that I need to do, no, failed. I get an error message, something doesn't
Do
work.
you know what's a, do you know what's do you know what's a classic example of that?
Hmm.
FAQ or contact us page.
The which one? Sorry.
FAQs and contact us page.
Yep. Yeah.
Customers definitely come back to look for those functionalities, those pages, just in case if they're in trouble. And those if they don't work, then the customer is like, perhaps, I mean, things are not working fine for me, and I'm trying to reach out to them, and there is no way I can get to them quicker, right? So FAQs and contact us, I definitely recommend customers to have some checks on those functionalities as well. They are very least critical, but they're very important.
Well, and I mean, the reason why, I mean, that's a good one. That's a good one. And the reason why I like to bring that up as being, it's often the slightly more obscure stuff, because, I mean, obviously you're going to want to have some functionality checks on your main things, but typically if a main service falls over, you're going to find that there are 100 different things that scream at you to tell you that it's gone down. But often those little obscure ones are ones that you don't necessarily have any alerting on until it's maybe not worked for the last 2 months. And the only person that notices is like, oh yeah, nobody's contacting us lately, and that's the only thing that you really that really tells you maybe there's an issue, right? So yeah, you can put in a lot of different tests for all of your functionality. Would recommend that you do that. Now, here we go. I might as well just jump straight into the platform. Okay, so let's have a look at what we've got here. Now, we are focusing on synthetics today. So just a couple of things on this. I'm in the Explorer. Okay. Now, from the Explorer, yes, I can just go down here, right? I can see the synthetic monitors. But just to draw your attention to this, I think we've mentioned it in previous sessions, but I'll do it again. I am not inside the synthetics product at this point, okay? I'm still in the Explorer. You can see that here, okay? I'm still in Explorer. So yes, I can filter my Explorer to show me just my synthetic monitors. Okay, but what if I want to go and do, the other things that I can do in synthetics? I need to move away from Explorer. So I like to bring that up because I find it does happen quite regularly where people will say to me, hey, how did you get to, where's that menu? I don't have that menu along the top. I think Ganesh probably knows what I'm talking about here, but watch closely. I'll show you how to get to the menu. I need to navigate away from Explorer, right? I go to more and I go to synthetics, okay? Now, in my case, it's over here because this thing, right? I can change what I see up here, okay? So I could go here and change the display a little bit. For mine, synthetics is hidden away under here. When I go to synthetics, now you can see synthetics is highlighted. I'm not on Explorer anymore. And that is what allows me to see these menus here. Okay, so if you're ever looking for these, yeah, it's by design that they're not going to appear in the Explorer, but they will appear when you go to the synthetics menu. So now that we're in the synthetics menu, we might as well start talking about some of this stuff, right? And I like to start from the right. Okay, so to me, that's going backwards, but I think I like to go backwards because this is kind of the easy stuff to talk about. So let's go over here to our location status. This is something I already mentioned to you guys earlier. And I said that New Relic has 20 different locations around the world, which you guys are able to utilize to send New Relic jobs to. And they'll be executed from these particular locations against whatever URL you want. Okay, so again, it doesn't even have to be your URL, right? It could be yours. It could be your competitor. It could be a third-party service. Perhaps you've paid for access to an API that you need to use on a regular basis, and I don't know, you don't want to rely just on their own SLA, but you want to check it for yourself. So you can run checks from synthetics against third-party providers that are providing you with a service, your own services or competitor services, anything. And from any of these locations, right? So here we can see, look, looks like everything's operational, right? From our side of the world, what do we got nearby? Not a lot. In Australia, we have literally just one location. If you're looking for New Zealand, no, it's not there. Okay. So yeah, we got one here. Other places close to us, yeah, we got one in India, one in Japan, Korea, Singapore, Bahrain, Hong Kong. Okay. So what does that mean? It just means that these are the public locations that are available. If you want to run synthetic checks from other locations not listed here, yeah, that's fine. You can do it. But you will have to deploy your own location. Fair enough? Now, the good news is it's really, really easy to do. And we'll show you how to do that during this session. Okay? Now, I did notice a question coming through as well, which is it's a pretty good question. It's a very relevant question. And it's actually quite relevant to what we can see here on the screen. Okay, so that was, actually, let me pull it up again. I know what the question is, but I don't know the wording. Yeah, it was the minions. Yeah, so how do the New Relic minions work? Okay, now, I might actually rephrase that a little bit because it's kind of like the second question. The first question would be, what is a New Relic minion? Okay, and essentially a minion is just, well, it's a container, right? And it's an instance whereby we accept and can run New Relic synthetic jobs against. Right? So essentially all it is it's a process that lives in a container that accepts New Relic synthetic jobs. That's it. Now, we have 20 locations. Okay, so this is some terminology for you. Each location has a number of minions. I don't know how many. Okay, I'm assuming it probably scales, right? So there'll be a few minions when there's not many jobs running, but if we start throwing a hell of a lot of jobs at one location, maybe it'll scale out and deploy more minions. But essentially, it's just a container that can run synthetic jobs for us. So as I said, we can deploy our own locations, and at those locations, we can then spin up a container, and that container can then start accepting New Relic synthetics jobs. So yeah, really easy to do. I can do it right here from my laptop. Okay, you can do it from anywhere where you are, right? So that's what a New Relic minion is and what a minion does. Okay, so you'll have one or more than one typically at every location that you deploy. Now, I'm gonna just keep going across. All right, so we'll have a look at some of the other things that we can do here. Now, there is a menu here for secure credentials. So we're going to talk about this just briefly. This is, I think you probably guess, right? This is where we securely store our credentials that will be invoked in the synthetic scripted, the scripted checks that we run. So obviously, if you're running a check that doesn't require a login, then no credentials are needed. But if you need to hit a login site or some level of authentication you need to pass through, you will need to provide a username and a password for that. This is where those details are kept. Okay, now, because typically you're going to need to pass both a username and a password across, in the secure credential store, you will have two records for that. So there'll be one record, which will be the username, and the username itself is stored securely. And then there will be one record that stores a password securely as well. So if we were to look at this, so you can see here, it's just a key, value pair. So we reference the key in our scripts, but the value is always secure. So when I look at this guy, that's the key name there. So it's a demo email login. I can't actually retrieve the value. I can change the value. If I come in here and I go edit, right, that's all I can do. And I can't change the key once I've defined it. So if I realize like I don't want to use that because it's maybe a bit ambiguous, we don't know what it's referring to, it's maybe conflicting with another credential or something, and I want to rename it, the only way to rename the key is to delete it altogether and create a new key with a new name. But the values are very easy to update. You just come in here, put it in. Also, a good idea to describe the purpose of the record, so that, I mean, typically if you name them pretty well, you'll know which ones correspond together. But you can see there's no requirement that you make the username and the password correspond together. So if you name them both very weird things, you're not going to know that that record is actually the username and this other record is the password. Okay, so have some kind of a good naming convention here and use the description to define that. The other thing that you might want to do here is, yes, we do have last updated. That refers to when the record was altered. It does not necessarily indicate that the password was changed at that time. So it could be that somebody, maybe they just came in here and they didn't change anything. They just came in and hit edit and then they hit save, right? Maybe they kept the same password, but it will still update. So something you may want to do is record in the description the actual date that the password was last changed. It could be handy as well. Creating new ones, we can do over here quite easily. Top right corner, come in, define the key. I could call it newest, latest, greatest key, right? It'll just put it in all caps. So yeah, leave that. And then we just type in a value, which will be a whole lot of rubbish, and then some description. Done. So there you go. It's created a new secure credential, and then it'll pass that secret value to the script that invokes that key name. Okay. So the good thing about this is that you don't need to know what the password is. So someone can actually set the passwords, and other people who are building the scripts can then utilize those credentials without needing to know what the actual passwords are. Okay, so we have a question with regard to is synthetics inclusive in the pro plans, or does it cost extra? It is actually included. I don't know to what extent though. I can't remember. They have changed it.
I can
Yeah,
I can tell you. I can tell you to what is included. That's so right now the synthetics is definitely available even for the free tier as well.
Mhm.
And when it comes to, I should say, when it comes to the other ones like pro plan or enterprise plan or standard plan, you can get up to 10,000 synthetic checks. A free one is only just like 100 synthetic checks that you can get per month.
Mhm.
But when it comes to standard and pro, or for standard, you can do up to 10,000 synthetic checks for free. And for pro, you can make up to like 1 million synthetic checks for free per month. And anything additional, just like any other component that we have, depends on how much response are you ingesting back to New Relic, and that's it. And based on my experience, that the amount of data ingest for synthetics is minuscule. It's very, very less. Um, I think if I have to look at our benchmarks and then say based on that, it is somewhere around 1.3 gig per a million checks, and that's like $0.3 per month.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Yeah. So this is something that we'll cover in this session as well, guys. So when you run a synthetic check, there'll be that's an event, right? So there will be an event that gets recorded against the synthetic check, but that check will make a number of requests, and the requests that are made are each going to be their own event as well. So it very much depends on the site that you're well, it depends on the type of check you're doing and the site that you're pointing the check at to determine how many requests are actually made. But these are a couple of things that we're going to talk about. I am just going to delete that record because it's asking me to delete it. So there you go. Let's come in here, edit, and delete. Are you sure we can't undo this? Yep. Okay, it's gone. Right. So there you go. Create a secure credentials to delete a secure credential. Very easy. Now, the next topic, which just came up then, was number of checks, right? And how do we know how many number of checks we're going to be performing? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip all the way over. Instead of monitor, we will cover these, but we'll cover them later. We're going to come all the way over here to monitors. And so again, these are the monitors that we could see in the Explorer, but remember we are in the synthetics menu right now, so we can see all the other things here too. I'm going to jump into, I'll jump into one of these. Let's look at a simple one, a ping monitor for the moment. You can see that, so before we go in, looking at a couple of things, the monitor status is enabled, okay? So this means that we will attempt. That's all it means. It means we will attempt to run jobs. The success rate obviously means that the attempts are working, and locations failing 0. 0 is good. So none of our locations are failing. So we are running checks from 3 different locations, and they are all working. Okay, now the period is 60 seconds. Now this is an interesting one. I might ask you guys, what do you think? We have 3 locations where we run these checks from, and we have a period of 60 seconds. So I'll ask a simple question. How many checks do we run per minute for that particular monitor? What do you think? I mean, I could interpret that a couple of different ways, right? I'm sure you guys can too. I think some of you guys know how this works. All right, so how many checks am I running per minute? It's not going to be, in this case, I mean, it says period every 60 seconds, but yeah, we are not running one check every minute. We are running one check, and I'm not going to say every 20 seconds either. Correctly, we are running 3 checks per minute, which does that mean one every 20 seconds? Kind of yes, kind of no. It's not exactly on the 20-second mark. All we're really doing is we are sending a request to perform a job to 3 different locations with the instruction to run this, every minute. So every minute we're sending the request. Now, when it actually runs is determined by the actual location itself, but it'll run within the scheduled time. But that could mean that it runs in 15 seconds, and 25 seconds, or something like that. So it's not exact in terms of how we split it up, but what we can say is that we are going to run 3 jobs, in this case, per 60 seconds, or roughly, but not exactly, 1 every 20 seconds. So same deal here, right? And all of them are the same. So here we have a 15-minute time window, and we have 3 locations, which means we're roughly going to be running 1 check every 5 minutes for this particular scripted API test. So I just think of it like, well, okay, this number divides into that number, and that's how you get the number of checks that you're going to be running. So obviously, as you select more monitors, all right, more locations, sorry, and a shorter time frame, you are going to start to significantly ramp up the number of checks that you are doing. And yeah, you need to think about the validity of that, right? Is it really worth your while to be running checks from 20 different locations? Maybe you can get the same kind of data if you're running it against 5, and that will result in 4 times less checks for you guys. So yeah, just want to draw your attention to that because it's the number of locations divided into the frequency, which gives you additional checks that you may not have originally factored in. Now, before we go into the monitors, we can come back, right? We can come back here to our monitor downtime. This one's pretty straightforward, okay? It's not difficult to understand this. This is just a scheduling function, and it allows us to tell our synthetic jobs that we've set up to not run at certain points in time. So, so it's a disable tool. Come in here, go create monitor downtime. Now, what's good about it is, well, Dan's downtime. Dan's downtime should be all day, right? All day, 7 days a week. Dan's downtime. I like that, right? It's not quite like that, but let's say it happens once per day. And when does Dan get some downtime? It's going to be in my time zone, so I define it in whatever time zone I'm in, right? Define it. Oh, look, I can be in Antarctica. Fine. Time zone still matches, right? And when am I going to have some downtime? We'll call it from 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. That's fine. It can happen once, daily, weekly, monthly. We'll call it daily, right? And hopefully it will never end. Then the other thing that I need to do is define the monitors that will be affected by this particular downtime record. So typically what you're going to do is you can say, okay, I've got service A, B, and C, which are always on the same change window. For example, they always have the same scheduled maintenance cycle. So you group all of those together and stick them into a single maintenance a maintenance schedule. So maybe see here we've got homepage performance, homepage ping, again something homepage, probably all these monitors are testing the same thing in different ways. So maybe we'll stick them all together, but maybe the services page undergoes a different maintenance cycle. So we'll stick that into a different monitor downtime. So do that. And then, yeah, so we've done that. And then we're going to say starting, we need to give it a start date as well. So starting tomorrow, and then it allows us to create. So until you've filled out all these fields, it won't let you create an invalid record, but that's it. So I've got 3 monitors captured by this one particular downtime record. I want to get rid of it. It's pretty easy to do that too. All right, that's that. Now, private locations. What have we got? Over here, we've got 2 methods of being able to deploy minions. Now, you'll notice that we've got a lot of records here. Now, these records don't relate to minions as such. Okay, and actually they've changed this view. It didn't used to look like this. It's modernized. It's good. Last time I was here, it didn't look like this. But the data's the same. So you can see I've got a number of locations defined. Each time you get your own unique location key. Obviously, it doesn't know physically where you are. That's kind of why we have, you need to define it properly. But anything I deploy with this particular key will then be considered to be defined in this physical location. Right. A couple of things to point out while we're here. Look at the minions. Okay. Now, if we look down, I have no minions deployed in any of these locations. Okay. Now that's quite a bit of a problem, and I'll tell you why. Let's go over and look at the problem, and then we'll come back here again. I'm going to attempt to create a new monitor, and don't worry too much about this stuff. We'll go into the detail of it in a minute, but look at this. See here, I've got private locations, and there's a lot to choose from. Yeah, it lets me select every location that is defined in the private location menu. But if you think back to what we just looked at, not one of those locations is valid because they don't have any minions. Okay, you're allowed to send jobs to a location, but only minions can execute the job. So it's kind of like, well, send the job there, and the job will just queue up. Right? You would just get more and more and more jobs in the queue, but you've got no workers to be able to process the jobs. So why I'm pointing all this out is that if you guys are going to go to the trouble to deploy yourselves some private locations, it's all on you. Okay, you guys need to maintain the location. You guys need to ensure that the minions are online and operational. Because if your minions go down, and now all of a sudden you've got a location defined with nothing there to take the jobs, your synthetic queue is just going to build up, right? There'll be jobs there and they never get executed. So it brings about new problems. So something to keep in mind, this doesn't do a validity check for you. It lets you select any private location that is defined. I'm going to go back to synthetics here, go over to our private locations. So what makes a location valid? Well, it would have to be one that has a defined record here with a number of minions, at least one, in order to be able to start processing the jobs that you send it. So let's look at creating a private location. So click the little button up on the top right corner. Right now, this is nice. Again, look, the interface changes weekly, and to be fair, it changes in a good way. right? I'm constantly pleasantly surprised by the new things that pop up. Like, oh, that's very handy. It now takes me to the docs page for the minimum requirements for a minion. I like that. So it didn't used to show that, but now it does. So that's very good. Now, if you've got, and you guys probably have this question as well, if you want to run monitors in new locations, or if they're behind a firewall, you need a private minion, which is what I'm talking about right now, right? And I also mentioned that they can be container images, or or as a virtual machine as well, right? So let's just define a private location name, blah, description, none, good. Generate a key. It's going to print out for me a whole new key. And look, the interface has changed here too. This used to bring me up a whole new page, and it would have that same info, but it would be on the main screen. So now it's giving me only the info in the left menu, the right menu, but the instructions are the same. So if I've got a Kubernetes cluster available at my newly defined location, all I need to do is literally copy paste these commands with a tiny bit of modification, right? So you need to put in your repo, you need to put in your CPM, right? You need to define your namespace. So your repo namespace here. Notice that it already defines the synthetics private location key value. So it's stuck that in there already, and you're good to go. So run those three, and you immediately have a private minion up and running inside your Kubernetes cluster. Can't really make it much easier than that. If you're running Docker, a little bit further down, there you go. We've got, this is even easier, arguably, because it's literally one command, and you don't have to substitute any values, right? There's an environment variable here for the minion, private location key, and it's already substituted the value of the new location that I've just defined, right? And then, it goes off and does it. So, well, do you know what? While I'm here, I'm going to grab that, copy that command, and I'll grab a terminal and paste that command, boom, do something. And you get to see what it does. Or you get to see what it doesn't do. Because, this is live, right? My demos are notorious for not working. But it's doing something, right? There you go. Here we go. It should be pretty quick because I've downloaded the minion before. So yeah, I didn't need to pull it out again. There you go. Look at that. So synthetics minion 3048 is ready and servicing location blah, right? That's because that's what I named it. So it's called blah.
You really named it blah?
I named the location blah, yeah. So yeah, the only thing, so it's up to you guys. If you want to see, we give you the command as it is, so that when the minion takes jobs, the logs, like it will display what it's doing here, right? So you can see I don't have my prompt back. Okay, if I wanted to deploy this thing, and I've tested it, and I know where I want it to go, I'd probably run it with a -d to detach it from the terminal, and it just run in the background. But for the moment, it should actually, it's sitting there ready to accept jobs. And that being the case, I should now be able to come in here and go view the private location. And yay, look at that. The thing is reporting the minion. Right? And also, guys, this is a new view. Have you seen this view before, Ganesh? I never saw this view. The new private location record. Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah.
Look at that.
So we we set up a location in for one of our customers wanted in Indonesia. So we've set up private minions for them, like a bunch of them. Like I think we've set up like what 12 of them in
Yeah.
in 12 different locations. They actually have data centers, some in Jakarta, some in somewhere, some in somewhere. So we've set up like 12 minions for them. Yeah, this looks pretty cool actually.
Yeah, well, I mean, and I mean, every location, I would think, if you guys are going to be deploying it yourself, every location is going to have a couple of different minions, right? So you'll just deploy them across different hardware and whatnot, so that no matter what, you know, you've at least got one minion available that can run jobs when you need it to run. So right now we can see, yeah, we have a single valid minion. You see that is the key, the unique ID for that specific minion, which happens to be this little guy here running on my laptop. So there's the minion ID defined there, and you can see it corresponding to the value right there inside New Relic. And that was pretty quick, right? It's last reported at 148, which is like 2 minutes ago. But in the time that it took me to deploy it, it'll appear here in the record within usually about 10-20 seconds. But we typically say wait up to a minute. Right now, I can come in here, edit the private location, right, and it comes back and it gives me the instructions again. So if I need to get back to that, that's fine. Now, the other thing that I can also do is stuff like this. Let's do that. Let's delete the private location. All right, so you see that I just killed the private location. Yeah. Now that's pretty cool, right? The location is no longer there. What's happened here? Right. Oh no, look at that. So my minion's going crazy now, right? Now when you see this, I'm getting this 403 error and it's going non-stop. There you go, guys. It's a free troubleshooting exercise. Somebody deleted your location record. Uh-oh. Is the minion running? Yes, it's running. Can it pick up jobs? No, because it needs to do it from a location record in New Relic. So it's essentially saying, I'm dead, and not only am I dead, I'm never gonna come back to life. Okay, like that's what dead is. It can't resurrect. It's dead. So how do I bring this thing back now? The only way I can bring this back is not by running the same command, because that key is dead. That location key is gone. You're never getting it back. Define a new location record and redeploy the minion with the new location key. It's not a big deal. It'll only take you a couple of seconds, but that's the way to resolve that problem, right? So meanwhile, I'm gonna cancel out of that. Break. It's not breaking. Oh. See, he's really not happy. Anyway, so yeah, there you go, guys. That's what happens when you do something like delete your location record without, and you still have active minions in the background. Okay, so question: are there any particular? Okay, that's a good question. Is there a particular monitor type that actually requires the Helm chart to be deployed? Right. So not that I'm aware of. I think if you deploy a minion, the idea behind using Kubernetes or using Docker is really just a case of what technology are you guys using and do you have available. So if you don't have Kubernetes and you have Docker, deploy it using Docker, like I just did on my laptop. But if you guys have a Kubernetes cluster, well then deploy it that way. So it's really more about the available technology that you guys have. Once you deploy a minion, it's capable of running any job that you define and send to the location. So there's it's a very good question. There's no specific setup requirements to run certain types of jobs with the minions. So it's quite a good one. Oh yeah, I'll get that drive share link for you guys a little bit later as well for anybody who has lost it. Okay. SLA reports. This is a good one. All right. I'm going to show you two things. First, we're looking at a report. This is a daily, weekly, and a monthly, yeah? There's the weekly. There's the monthly. And then we're going to come over here and look at the monitors. Because ultimately the data for the SLA reports comes from the monitors themselves, yeah? Now, this is why I was saying this thing here is quite important, monitor status. You guys can see that? So any monitor that is enabled will form part of this SLA report, okay? So in this case, guys, I have a lot of monitors, as you can see. A lot of monitors running on this particular account. Conceivably, in fact, very probably, they are running against different services. But I need you guys to understand that we're looking here at one account level SLA report, right? This is not service level. So you're not looking at, oh, this service has this level uptime, this other service has a different level uptime. No, this is account level. So it's a service level agreement for the account, right? It should be like an ALA report, account level agreement report. But I just want to highlight that to you guys. I want to point it out because one of the things that's going to happen is, in fact, we've got a great example of it here. You may at some point end up in a situation where you've got things like this. You see that? I've got a 0% success rate monitor and another one underneath. That's a ping monitor, simple browser. Now, that could be because the service is down, but very likely, and typically, especially if it's a scripted browser check, a lot of the time these things are enabled and they're failing permanently because the script hasn't been written properly yet, right? It's still in the process of being developed. Do you find that happens, Ganesh? Do you see that a lot?
Sorry, what?
Oh,
I really didn't get that. My connection just got a little choppy then.
Oh yeah, no worries, no worries. So I'm just talking about the status of being enabled, right? And I was just sort of saying, do you see? Because I do see. Do you see instances like this? You know, where you've got a monitor that's enabled and it's just permanently failing. It's been failing for a very long time, and it's most likely not due to the site being down, but due to the monitor not being configured properly.
Yep. For me, most of the times it's the response assertion that is wrong.
Yep.
So what happened is there is a health check API that you would be looking at, and then you would be looking for a particular text in that one. Say success, right?
Yep.
So the developer, what he did was he just made some changes, and instead of success, he started writing okay. So the microservice is working fine, the health checks are working fine normally, but the synthetic is failing continuously because synthetic is actually trying to look for the word success in it, but whereas the developer changed it to okay.
Yeah,
that happens.
Yeah, I can imagine that happening a lot. So in that case, that's a funny one actually, because your synthetic check is actually failing, but the site and the service that you're testing against is actually working. So it's like you're getting a false fail. But the important thing there is you'll end up with a check that is enabled, is scoring a 0%, and yes, it is affecting your account level SLA report. Okay, yes, it does affect it. So when I come over here, and I don't know really how I feel about this, Ganesh, because this is, I mean, I can see the value of it in, I guess, this is a holistic view of all my synthetic checks. And if I look at it as being more of a analysis of whether my checks are working okay, I think it can be valuable. Don't look at this as a check to see if your services are working, if that makes sense. So because you're testing a whole bunch of different services, these values may not be all that useful to you anyway, right? Your different services are going to have different durations, right? You might have a scripted check that goes through and does a lot of things and takes 30 seconds. You'll have a ping that takes 10 milliseconds. So when you aggregate these values together, duration doesn't mean much, right? But
definitely not. Duration definitely, duration and abdex doesn't really mean. I mean, they do not. You should not just look at them as an advice, but do not consider them as an indicator of your uptime or your actual end user performance. That is correct.
So the one I would be pretty much the only one I'd be paying attention to here on the account level SLA report, guys, is this one here, which is your uptime. And understand that this is not your service uptime, but this is the uptime of the configured synthetic monitors that you have defined. That's it. If you look at it as a synthetic monitor uptime, it's accurate and it's very good. And so you want that number to be high, right? Now, having said that, this is the account level SLA with, I think, limited value. It does have value, but only in that uptime metric. We also have, let's just look at our simple one. We'll look at a ping monitor to start out. On every single monitor, we have a separate SLA report for that monitor. Now, this is the one that can hold some service level value to you guys. So what's good about this? Firstly, you guys can define a separate apdex for every single monitor. Now that's a really good thing because a ping monitor should be a lot faster than, for example, a simple browser check or a scripted browser check. Okay, well, depending on what the script is, but typically a ping will be way faster than a simple browser check. So you'll define different apdex thresholds for those different monitors. Now, you can see here we've got a duration that is related to this one monitor only. Uptime apdex, I would argue that this apdex is probably not configured optimally. Probably need to reduce that number down, but it's cool. We get a daily, we get a weekly, we get a monthly, and at this on this screen here, we also get the ability to make the SLA public, and we can then share that report out. And if I share that report, you see it gives me a URL. I'll stick this here, and I'll just do this so you guys can go to it if you want to. I'll stick it in the chat window, but you don't have to log in to New Relic to be able to hit that URL and see what is this particular service's uptime like. So this sort of shows you that, yeah, you can have some synthetic monitors that will periodically monitor something that's very relevant to your customer, and then you can actually even publish that for them to proactively tell them, yes, look, this is the thing you need to access, and if you ever need to check if it's operational, come here to this URL and we will publish for you the historic stats on that. So that's nice. I like that. And you can do that on any monitor in the SLA menu. So SLA bounded by a specific monitor versus the other one, which was all of them aggregated together for the whole account. Now, I'll go through a couple of menus here, and then maybe I'll pass it over to you, Ganesh. You might like to go through the different monitor types, just for something fun, bit of a change. I'll run you through these menus, just so that we understand the anatomy of a monitor. and then I'll pass over to you. You can explain the different monitors. Now, on our summary page, right, first up, we see everything's fine, no locations failing, we're performing a certain number of checks, everything's successful. It defines the different locations for us that this monitor is using. I find the timings here are not really all that important. What's important is the consistency. So what are things that we might want to look at here? Well, it's really good to see this guy here in the metadata, because this tells me what this monitor is monitoring. So yeah, I can see it's going to the web portal, telco, NR demo, and it's the static. This is the services.jsp page that's being monitored. Right now, that site is in the US, and when we run checks from Portland, we're getting about 50 millisecond response time, 50 to 60, and you can see it's consistent, right? We're running the exact same check from Germany, we're getting 300 milliseconds, and it's always the same. Hong Kong, about 300 as well. So that's going to be a function of the extra distance that we have to cover across the network in order to perform the ping. But we can see services available, and we are getting consistent performance. And those are the things we wanted to check for. I can invoke a check from any location, just out of band right here if I need to. And if we scroll down a little bit further, I can see a couple of things that are relevant just to a ping check. So I also need to clarify this as well. We call it a ping, okay? We are not talking about a network ping, right? So we're not talking about ICMP, protocol 6, no. That's a traditional network ping. This is an HTTP GET request. Okay, that's it. So it's the first part of a page load, typically, and we execute a GET. It hits the URL. That URL, which is this guy here, in our case, web portal, will respond to the GET request, and on receiving the response, we terminate. So we don't actually bother loading that services.jsp. All we're doing is we're saying, is there a service listening? And in this case, it's on port 80. Is there a service listening on port 80 that will respond when I invoke services.jsp? That's it. I got a response. I don't care about anything else beyond that. Terminate the connection. And that's why it's quite fast, right? And when we look at the info that we get back, there's not really going to be a lot. We can see we get request and response times. So we see on average how long we're waiting. And then we can see where our time was spent. Okay, so we've got a 0 on SSL because we didn't bother establishing a secure connection, but we spent on average 17 milliseconds doing DNS lookups against that URL and 100 milliseconds in connecting. So again, this is across the 3 locations averaged. Portland was faster than that, but Germany and Hong Kong were both slower. This is why we get that number. Error response codes, none. Okay, so everything's successful at the moment. When we pass over to Ganesh, I want you guys to see this page, and he'll show you some different monitors, and there will be different charts here, because if we're loading pages or if we're running scripts, we will be receiving more info, so we'll be able to show you things related to the assets loading, not just network connection times, which is all we can do with a ping. I have a page dedicated to results, and you can see here we have our successful results down here. You will also see failures here as well. Okay, and this is kind of good as well if you need to understand the frequency with which things run. You can see we've got, we're just kind of going round robin almost, Hong Kong, US, Germany, Hong Kong, US, Germany. So just round and round, run every so often, whatever the frequency was. and there's our consistent timings. You can go into each one of these results records. Now this is kind of cool. I'll leave this for Ganesh as well, because my one at the moment is not very interesting. This is actually a waterfall chart, believe it or not, but we've done, and this is good for terminology here, we've run one synthetic check. It was successful. This synthetic check resulted in one synthetic request. This is very important you understand the distinction between the two. So you got a synthetic monitor that will run checks on a frequency that you define. But if we ask it to load a page, for example, that's one request. Sorry, that's one check. And that check may result in, 10, 100, 1,000 requests. Because when you need to load up a URL, there might be many different assets that you need to load from all different locations. And each one of those is its own request. You'll see it in the waterfall chart when we look at a more comprehensive check. But yeah, I can mouse over this and I can get the very, very detailed timings on this specific request and also the entire check. All right. Going out of here. Actually, the other thing as well, if this was like a simple browser check or a scripted check, you'll also get a log here as well, which will be the browser log, and you even get a script log. So if there are actually log messages that are occurring as a result of the checks, you will see them alongside the checks. This is very, very useful. What resources did we load? This is a simple one. There'll only be one. But again, if I hit a big website with a lot of different resources needing to be loaded, you'll see every resource here, and you'll see the breakdown on how long all the different resources take to load. So if you're checking your own site and you want to know what's holding your site back, what's making it slow, you can see that kind of thing here in resources. And if I had failures, they would appear here. Nothing to see at the moment. Last one I want to show you guys is general. Come across to our general settings, and you can see this is where I can turn off my monitor, right? So it's unavailable for a period of time. And I can change what it points at, change the frequency with which it runs, right? I can define different locations from here as well. And I can also, do a couple of advanced things as well. So you can ask it to validate very specific text that should come back in the reply. And then there's a couple of other features as well. So bypass head requests. If it redirects the URL, consider that a failure, or verify SSL, right? So depending on what you want to do, you can get a couple of extra features out of that too. Now, the only other thing, which interestingly, it's not actually here. I was going to say configuring the AppDex, right? So there is no AppDex in the new view still. You have to come back to the old view, right? So if I come back here to the old view, flick that, that's where I could, if I want to, change the AppDex. Let's do that. It's currently at 7 seconds. This was like 200 milliseconds. So I'm going to put it in at 0.1, 100 milliseconds. See how we go. Save that. That's a funny one. AppDex doesn't appear in the new view. But yeah, there is a little message on that too. So go back here. Okay, so that is I suppose the anatomy of a synthetic monitor. I think we have kind of gone through most of the menus. I'm actually thinking now might be an okay time to take a break. So we're a little bit early, but maybe we should go for a, I don't know, 10-minute break, 15-minute break. What do you guys want? Do you want a 10-minute break or would you rather 15? And then Ganesh is going to give you some in-depth info on specific monitor types, because I think we've got 7 now. Although some of them are just kind of derivatives of one. Yeah, they're not. There's not really 7.
There's 7 of them.
Yeah. All right. I got to vote for 15-minute break. Are we good with 15, guys? All right. So let's come back. I'm getting 1/4 past the hour, so let's come back at 1/2 past the hour. I think that means, so for you, Ganesh, it will be 1/4 to the hour, isn't it? And you'll be coming back on the hour.
Yeah, that is correct.
Yeah, okay.
9:45 a.m. for me, so I'll be back by 10 a.m.
All right. So if you're in Ganesh's time zone, it's 9:45 in the morning. Come back at 10. For those of you in Sydney time zone, we are coming back at 2:30 p.m. See you guys back here in 15 minutes. Okay, guys, we should be back. Cool. That time again. It's Ganesh demo time. He's going to show us some good stuff.
Yes. I hope everyone is back. So Dan did all the exciting introduction stuff. So now I will try to keep it as engaging and exciting as possible. I'll just show you the type of monitors that we have as under Synthetics.
You got the
I
best
am
bit.
going to share my screen. Yeah.
You get to talk about all the different monitor types and what they're for.
There you go. I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, I can see it.
Nice. So jumping onto the same page as Synthetics. Okay, these are all the Synthetics, the checks that are already created. And we spoke about all of these separate tabs here. How do you see the SLA report? How do you create the private location, private minions, monitor the downtime, secure credentials? So now, what are the different types of monitors, right? Earlier, I think we had just like 4 different types of monitors, but then what and we understood from our customers that they use these different types of monitors for a lot of use cases, right? So few customers use it for, say, just the health checks, but few customers use it to check their competitors' website performance and a lot of other stuff, right? So what our teams have done is they spent some time try to make it easy for different types of use cases and have the types of synthetic checks that they've created now are like split into 7. They're not 3, they're not 4 anymore, they're like 7. What are these different types of checks? The first one is availability check, as simple as a single ping. And this one asks you for a URL, and it basically is going to run a curl request for that URL. And the default check that happens is the page responding with a HTTP 200. If it's responding with a 200, it's a successful. And if it is not, it's a failure, right? Just going into this one to show you, this is the simplest available health check or synthetic monitor that you can set up, where you just give the name, the URL. When I say URL, it can just be a web page URL, or it can be an API health check URL. It's up to you, right? The period, how frequently do you want to run this, and additional options on, do you really want to check SSL, or if there is any head request that's coming, do you want to ignore that, or if there is a redirection, do you want to fail it, right? The basic to basic, the simplest synthetic monitor that you can have, right? No assertions required, nothing. All you just have to do is give it a URL and that's it, right? And the second one, interesting one, is SSL certificate expiration. So a lot of teams we observe are probably a week before or like few hours before the expiry is when they get to know that their certificate is getting expired, probably from the certificate generation authority. And that is when they get alerted and then start generating a new certificate. And by then, things must have gone wrong already. So what does this check do? All you have to do here is give the URL, not the URL of the web page, but you have to give the domain on which the certificate is generated. And based on the domain name, you can decide how many number of days prior to the expiry do you want to get to know. So what this custom monitor is going to do is, when it rather than hitting the page, it hits the domain, fetches the certificate data, and based on the labels available, it's going to fetch the expiry date, checks with the number of dates that the condition that you have set up, and is going to send you an alert. And how frequently this should be checked is something that you can define. I'll just show you an example of this one on how this looks. Not here. I'll just show you. Just show this to you. I remember setting up I've just set up a SSL check and was failing it intentionally to show how it looks. So if you see this one, this is doing a check on, let me just go to general here. I'm just doing a check on acmetelephone.com, its domain, and acmetelephone.com domain have an SSL certificate that is expiring on the 9th of November, right? And what I did, I intentionally have updated my checks and then said, if the expiry is like less than 60 days, send me an alert or raise or make this monitor fail so that I know that, okay, something is failing and I need to look at it. And if I go back to the results, I can see that the error message very clearly says that the SSL certificate has fewer than 60 days remaining before expiring, right? And what this one really does is it's just going to go to the home page, check for the certificate, check for the expiry date, and then decide on the success criteria of the monitor. That's about SSL check, right? What else do we have? We have 5 other types of monitors. Page link crawler. This one comes super handy when we were talking about the contact us and FAQs page failing and no one is really paying attention to it. What happened? What happens with this one? All you have to do is just give the URL of a page. And what this monitor does is it's just going to click on the home page, the URL that you're going to give, fetches all the href tags, basically all the all the URL tags, click all of them, and then see which one of them is giving you back a 404 or anything that is not a 2xx. And that's how you get alerted for this one. This is very specifically for broken link testing. Earlier, when we did not have this, what the customers were doing was they're just doing a simple browser check and going into the results and then checking which ones of them are failing and which one of the links are broken. So rather than that, we made it easier that you give us the URL. If any of these links are broken, we're going to send a failure on this alert, right? So a failure on this monitor. So that's page link crawler, right? And the one other thing that I wanted to make it very clear here is that this one looks only for the first level of links, not to the second level. So on a homepage, if you have 10 links, all the 10 links are checked once. But if you really want to check any other links for one level more, you will have to do it by yourself. You have to bring up that page and then create a separate link for this one. And then we have page load performance. This is the simplest browser, simple browser. So with simple browser, the use case here is that this is very similar to what you have in the availability check, but this one not just does a curl request, but rather in the backend, the minion that is being used to test this one provisions a Selenium WebDriver and loads the page completely from the beginning till the end of the page, basically the complete rendering. And that is how you would get stats on how your page is performing in terms of the resource download as well, right? I'll just show you an example here. If I go to synthetic monitors, let me just go to one of the simple browser checks that we have, probably at my homepage here. And if you see, the result for synthetics and the result for this one are quite different. The result for synthetic, which is a simple ping check, shows you how many of them are successful and how many of them are failure, and just shows you the response time. Whereas a simple browser check gives you detail on how much is the first byte, first paint, first contentful paint, complete page load. It gives you all the golden signals that we spoke about when we were talking about monitors or browsers, right? And it further gives you details on how many external domains are being hit, average page resource size. And interestingly, if you go to the results and then open one of the results, you get to see much more detail. Just like how you're seeing the data on the browser side, you can see all the complete waterfall model of the complete page load. including the time that it's taking for individual resources, the DNS time, how long did it take for the, how long did it take to connect, how long did it take to do the DNS resolution, wait, and furthermore, right? That is about simple browser check. And now, the next one is user flow or functionality. This one is very similar to what you're seeing in simple browser check, but whereas this one helps you create a complete user flow and then not just one page. So I will actually take an example and then show that to you. Other than this, do I have a scripted browser? Yeah, there you go. I have scripted browser here. So the scripted browser check, as you can see here, while this one gives you enough information on exactly very similar information on the domains and all of this, but if you go to the results and let me say I open one of these, I hope I have multiple pages here in this one. No, there are no multiple pages. Let me see if I can find a better example. Scripted browser. Okay, I can see something like this. Let me see if there are multiple pages in this. Results, and open one of them. There you go. So now this one gives similar details like how I mentioned the response times, from where is this being used. If I go to the summary, in summary, I can see very similar detail here. How many of them are success, how many of them are failure, the performance times, and the domain level data, right? Additionally, because this is a scripted browser monitor, you also get to see success rate at individual pages. So now, as you can see here, obviously someone was hitting the home page, then going to the about.jsp page, again clicking on the home page, then clicking on login page, and then submitting some login, right? So these are all the pages. So if you see the waterfall model currently is only for this page. If I click on this, it shows completely for this page. I can go to the next page, and then I get the page level data here, and this, and this, and this, all for the individual pages, right? And furthermore, you will also be able to see the script log. This is basically the log that is created. I'll tell you how the log is created and how the script can be created here. And then there is something called the browser log. This one tells you when did it start, when did it fail, how many pages were there, and if there are any further failures that you're seeing on the browser side, everything comes here, right? Especially all the warnings. So how do we create this one? A simple browser check is pretty easy. You just give the URL, but for a scripted browser, how do you create this? I'm just going to create a scripted browser check here, and then I will say scripted browser, and I'll say advanced options, nothing. I'm just enabling the screenshot just in case if there's a failure. I'll select locations. I'll select Sydney. Next. So now here is the tricky part. You're seeing a lot of script here, which is something that is a lot of coding. This is tough to understand. But the easiest way to do this one is get yourself used to a Selenium WebDriver, right? So for example, I have this one going here. This one works very easily with a Selenium WebDriver, or there is also a Catalan WebDriver, right? So right now, I don't think I have this one, or do I have this? Okay, I have this. I have my Catalan recorder here, right? So if I have to do this, right now after enabling this extension, I am going to say, hey, Catalan recorder. I'm going to click on this one. This one opens up. Close this. Got this. This one opens up a beautiful test suite here. I'm just going to delete all of this here. These are all some old ones. Now delete my data. I don't want this. This is basically the template of a Catalan recorder. I'm showing you a Catalan recorder, but you can actually go and then get a Selenium web recorder as well, right? So I have this one. I'm saying now please add a test suite, and then I am going to name this as telco demo. Click on OK. This one, I would say I click on this one and say, oops, I click and then 1 second, I'd say this. I'm just going to record something, right? I'll just say click on record. Just brings me to the browser again. And then I am going to say, do I have my ACMetal code? Let's say URL. I'll just say this. This opens up the ACMetal code phone, acmetelephone.com web page. And once I'm on the home page, I am just going to randomly click on, I don't know, I'm just going to click on About Us, Contact Us now, right? So I click on this one, and then this page, I'm just going to say, no, I'm not going to fill this one. They might actually call me, so I'm not going to fill this. We just navigate to some other page and then say testimonials. Right, so I've clicked on all of this. There are like 3-4 actions that I've done, and then I stop this. Right, so now I go back to my Catalan recorder, and then I say stop. Here, if you see, I already have a script that is already created for me. Right, it is exactly going to do the same thing. It says open acmetelephone.com. Where did I click on it? I clicked on something that says About Us. So I just fetched the XPath of this one directly, and then I put it here. I clicked somewhere on the page, and then I clicked on a testimonials link, and then I closed the browser. Right, this exactly created it is showing this whole thing for me. So just to make sure if this one is working fine or not, I can very well play this and then see if it's going to do this or not. There you go. I clicked on this one. As simple as this, contact us. Haven't done anything, and then I just navigate, close the browser. Right. So it showed all of this for us. It exactly executed all of these steps here, right? So now all I have to do is cancel this one. All I have to do is click on this and then say, let me just export this one. I right click on this one. Oops, what's this? I still now click on this, not this one. Oops, where is the export? Export. I click on export here. Oops, sorry. Selecting that. When I say export, and when I say export, this one gives me an option to select. What's this? Test case selected, and then I say export. So basically, I have an option to select this one, export this one as a New Relic synthetic script, and this one is just going to generate the script for me. And all I have to do is just copy the script here, right? I just did not select the right one. Give me 1 sec. Do you have an idea why this one is why the export is not working? Dan, it's been so long. I did this one. I'm just doing it like right now.
I can see. I mean, I can see where you are, and that vertical ellipsis that you click on, that's always where I go to export. You're missing the export option from that spot, so it's in a different place. I don't know. I think you're running a different version Catalan to me.
Yeah, this is a very new version now. So let me say I just save this test case. I don't know where I've saved this one. Okay, save this test case, and then I click on export. And this one usually gives the complete script, right? So I can just select whatever type that I want, and then this one generates the script, and that's the script that I copy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, how did I miss this? This one is Catalan Studio is here. Oops. Let me see. This test suite here is not the one that I have. Go here, then say extension. Not this. Click on export, and then this usually gives me the complete test case as a script here. There's save test case. Yeah, that's already done. Yeah, this usually gives me the export here option. I think probably I might have to update my Catalan Yeah, I might have to update my Catalan recorder because it's been ages that I used this one. It probably that's the one that is, it's not letting me export this one. But yeah, again, to give you an example, I can show you an example that is here for one of the pages. I'll show you an example here. Let me just go to the script here, and I'm going to go to the script page. Yeah, so this is basically, this is how the script is going to look, right? Just like how I did, opening the URL and then clicking on an ID, which is about link, and then clicking on telco homepage again, and blah, 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 entering the username and password, and then click on submit button, right? So one thing that you really need to be cautious about here is the script that you're going to generate on Catalan or be it Selenium WebDriver. Once you export that script and then bring it and then put it here, test it out once, and there are possibilities that the script may have to be updated a little bit to make sure that you're letting the script identify the right object. That's because you're running the script from multiple locations. The network conditions are different. The way the kind of machines, of course, the VMs will not be different, and because there's going to be a private minion that creates this one, but the network conditions are going to be different, and the amount of time that it takes for the resources to be downloaded can be slightly different, and the object identification can fail. That's the reason you have to be extremely cautious of identifying the right XPath, because when you go to Catalan driver, here it has identified the XPath, right? But you may want to update this XPath. So if we have people on coming from automation, they will definitely understand this one. Wherein when they try to create a Selenium script or they try to create any automation script, the script works fine on their local machine. But when they actually take this and then put it on a remote machine, things will fail. It's not that the functionality of the application is failing, but it is that the script is failing because it's not able to identify a specific object. So the automation test engineers, what they do, they make sure that the object is identified properly and export and update the script. So that's one thing that you have to be a little cautious about, and then make sure that you have the right way of identifying the object, right? And this one is exactly like the Selenium script that you put it here, right? Yeah, I wish I can show you a right demo on how that script is created, but my Catalan the plugin is not working, unfortunately. Yeah, but once you export the script, you will have the all you have to do is just go here, paste the script here, and then test it once, and the script is going to give you a validation result if your script is correct or not, and based on that, you can set up the monitor, right? And the next one is endpoint availability. This one is for a scripted API. I would say scripted API is just like how simple browser is like one page and scripted browser is like multiple pages. Endpoint availability is scripted API. You can have multiple APIs tested within this one. Let me show you an example. If I have a scripted API here, and the best part with scripted API is that you will see a sample script that is already given to you, like this. What's the format that you have to follow? It's pretty simple, right? It just gives you, if you want to make a post request, this is a format that you follow. You get the post data in a JSON format, and then check for what you want. What response do you want from this? All you have to do is just do a copy paste of this one and then write a GET request. And if you have any other types of requests, the documentation is available here. Right, writing the API test is very simple because this is programmatically controlled. It makes it very easy for you also to understand and then write the script. This one is pretty quick. Developers love this one. Right? I'm just going to cancel this one, discard these changes, and go back and try to create a new monitor. Right? And the last one is user step execution. User step execution, as we call this one is a zero code monitor building, because here this makes it even easier, I would say. Let me do this as a demo once again, and then say select location, then I'll select Sydney, define steps. So if you see this one, just like how we have created a script on Selenium WebDriver or Catalan WebDriver and then brought it here, this one is letting you do everything on the same page. You really don't have to go to a different WebDriver, get it done, and then bring the script here, right? Here, the easiest way is you can say, the same telecom. You can say, hey, this is my URL, just navigate to this one. And once you navigate to this one, you can say, click on this, click on the specific element. You just say add, and on the home page, I can just right click on this one, insert this element. I can get the XPath and then paste it here, right? So if you look at this one is expecting an ID or a CSS or XPath. So I want to click on contact as I go here, and then I say, hey, right click on this, copy XPath or copy full XPath, actually, copy full XPath, and then say paste it here. And if I want anything else that I have to add, and once this is done, if I have to type some text, I can just type some text here, give the extract of the object where I have to test, and then just give the value of this one. I'll say, let's say I clicked on contact us now, and then name, I'm going to inspect this. This item has an XPath here, copy full XPath into this place, and then type Ganesh test. That's all. I'm not going to do anything else, right? That's all. This is my module here. So if I say validate this one, what the tool is going to do is in Sydney area, it's going to provision a Selenium WebDriver again. Selenium WebDriver, minion with Selenium WebDriver, trying to open the script like how I gave, trying to identify the object. Click on the object, go inside, identify the object, and then type it there. So if you see the script log here, if you go to the script log here, this one is going to tell you that, hey, I've navigated to this URL. I clicked on this element that you told me, and then I was able to enter Ganesh test in the specific object that you told me to, right? And this one is going to generate a script in the backend, which is something that you can see here already. And if you want to do any further modifications, you're free to do the modifications here as well. It's totally up to you, right? And this is not the script that you are generating by yourself. You are telling New Relic that, hey, I want to do these steps, and basically you are picking up from the predefined type of events that are already available, and then just playing around with that. You're just adding all the steps and then validating your script, and you're good there, right? And how do you want to locate the elements? And there are a bunch of them. There are a few examples that you can pick from here and then put them there. All right. Yeah. So these are the type of monitors that we have on this one. Did I miss the last one? Did I miss the last one? No, I haven't. Yeah. So those are the 7 different types of monitors. My favorite ones in this one are the simplest ones, which is availability check. I really don't have to do anything other than just give the URL. Second one is step monitor, because I can actually simulate a end user scenario, not even writing one step of code. I really have to just select the stuff that I want to do, and I have a script generated already. Right, those 2 are my favorites. Yeah, so we've discussed all 7 types of monitors. Dan, anything else that you think I should cover?
If you can, maybe just talk a little bit about the assert that you can apply to a script, like like when do you need to use it? Do you have to use it? What happens if you don't put an assert into your script?
Sure, got it. So from ping check, I think sometime back when I was giving an example saying, a developer all of a sudden just changed the health check response from success to okay, right? So why did I say that actually caused a problem? Is because when there are situations where you are trying to hit a home page, or you're trying to do a curl check on a specific page. You're getting back a response which is a 200, so your synthetic check would pass. But are you actually getting the content that is expected on the page? Maybe not. And how do you validate that? Again, like I said, automation testers and performance testers, if you are on this call, you will understand the importance of assertion, because we run a lot of tests, and when we find that, okay, my test is successful, but what is expected by the script to be done there never happened, because a lot of developers, be it front end or be it the backend developers, do not really like to see a lot of 4xx or 5xx or anything, right? So what they do is they respond back with a readable message and with a 200 response, right? So if I'm trying to do a health check, I get the response of a health check saying that it's a 200, it's actually be 200, but in the response it says, failure due to DB connection, failure due to invalid DB connection, right? Or failure due to something else. So should I treat that as a success? No, I should not be. But am I getting the right response? Yes, you are getting the right HTTP response, but you're not getting the right expected response, or the successful response from your server. How do you validate that? That's what the assertions are for, right? So wherein you click up, you give the URL of the page that you want to test, and additionally you also assign a validation to it, where you say, hey, I want my homepage to be loaded, and my homepage should have, so for example, if I'm loading this contact us page, I would say, hey, load me the contact us page, but also make sure that you check for get in touch with Acme Telephone Co. here. What if I click on a contact us page, which is, let's say I am clicking a contact us 3 page here, right? So if you see, this one is a 404. The page is 404, but still I have my Acme logo on this, and I have my bunch of other stuff here, everything, right? And if I actually go to developer tools, I will know if developer is smart or not here. If I go here, and then if I say refresh this, see, if I just go ahead and then try to set up an alert based on, let's say, some other URL, I'm actually getting a 200 response for few of them, right? Of course, the main page is still showing me a 404, which is good. I really don't have to go for assertions. But what if the developer is giving me back a response saying that, hey, the page is broken, or something like a fancy error message, right? But he's sending me a HTTP 200. If I want to validate this one, that's what I do, right? I go ahead and then I set up an alert. I set up a monitor for contact us page, but I also make sure that I'm getting the right response. And then I say, hey, set up a text assertion or a validation on the text get in touch with Acme Telephone Co. And that's where we need the sessions. Adding assertions is a best practice. It's not mandatory. Adding those is a best practice. And it's always recommended to have the right text message, or right text that you want to validate on in the assertion here that you're seeing, to make sure that your monitors are successful in every term, starting from the HTTP response and to the kind of response that you are expecting.
All right.
Any questions so far?
So yeah, just to summarize what you were explaining just then, although it is obviously a much better practice to specifically define exactly what you want to look for as your script runs through its journey. If you weren't going to put the assertions in, it's only going to fail when the script actually fails. So when there's actually an error thrown in the script, at that point, your check will fail. So yeah, I guess to answer the question that came through, generally speaking, yes, you would put asserts in there. And if you and the other side to that is like essentially what happens if you don't. So what happens if you don't is your script will run, and if the script doesn't fail, right? If the script succeeds, then the check is successful. Even if the check didn't validate things that you want it to validate. If the script runs successfully, that's it. It's considered successful. So yeah, the best practice is to run through and look for the specific things you want to look for. As Ganesh just mentioned, the
at
step
every step.
monitor is a good one for that.
And I also saw another question from someone. Is there a provision to get notification to a notification channel on SSL certificate expiration? To answer this simply, this is just another synthetic monitor, and an assertion check SSL certificate expiration is just going to be a failure on your synthetic monitor, which you can certainly go ahead and then add as an alert condition within alert policy, because consider alert policies as a horizontal across all the modules that we spoke about: infrastructure, APM, synthetics, everything, right? Alert sees across all of these modules. So anything that's failing on infrastructure, you can set up an alert policy. Anything on APM, alert policy. Anything on synthetics, yes, you can. So the easiest way to set this up here is when a synthetic monitor fails for like consecutively a couple of times, send me an alert to a notification channel, and that notification channel can be your Slack channel, or it can be an email, or a PagerDuty call.
Yeah, so you're not actually setting up a notification on SSL certificate expiry. You're setting up a notification on a synthetic check failure, and the synthetic check failure occurs because your assert failed because the resultant time coming back when you're checking the certificate expiry didn't match, which you showed that just earlier. So that's a good example where, I mean, we're sort of tying two things together now. You've got an assert in place to say, check for this particular number. If that number's not there, fail the monitor. So that particular check fails. And when any check fails, you can, that can be configured to be a condition violation, and it will send a notification to the notification channel determined in the alert policy. So yeah, good point on that one. And I think it's probably important to point out as well. I think, like we kind of mentioned it, but of those 7 monitor types that we have, really in the background there's just 4. Okay, there's the ping, which is a very, very simple rudimentary one. Then there's the full browser load, right, which is your simple browser test. And then there's 2 scripted ones. So scripted API and scripted browser, right? And the difference is the difference with the 2 is that the scripted browser check is expecting web traffic, right? Whereas the API test does not expect web traffic, right? So if you were to write a script that was not going to generate web traffic and you put it in as a simple browser test, it will fail, even though the script might be valid. You've put it in as a browser check where it's actually supposed to be an API check. So I can actually show you guys something. I can grab it here. I think, where is it? Yeah, I'm gonna show you guys this. Let me just share my screen out. I always find it's nice to get a little bit of history on some of this stuff. So if you can see my screen right now, look at this, guys. This is 2017, yeah? Right? August 2017, and look at what you're seeing here. So you want to know what happens with that SSL certificate check? Well, here's the code, right? I can't guarantee you it's exactly this, but I can tell you that the way this is the fixed version, right? There was a version with that problem. This is the fixed one, right? But you notice here, and it looks very, very similar. All we've done is this became one of the most popular synthetic scripts. People would come in to discuss and they would copy paste this code into the scripted API check. And it was so popular, we just wrote this into the UI. Right. So that's where I'm saying that that SSL certificate check, it's not really a separate test in its own right. It's just a scripted API check in the background that, you know, and look at the parameters that it asks you for in the UI. It says, what's the URL you want to monitor, right? The license key would be part of the account that you're defining it against, right? And then somewhere in here, I think you define the time frame, right? And that's all you need to check. Right. So if you want to know what the script is, you know, how the script works, well, this is one example of that. Okay. So the idea is really you can kind of script just about anything you want, right? In terms of in terms of checks and the ability to check against things. Now, I wanted to give you guys something to do as well. So let me. Oh, my screen has. That page died. Oh, no, that page. You may have noticed, right? I have far fewer browser windows open, right? I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah, a lot lesser.
Yeah, I've gone from probably around, I don't know, I'm estimating 300 or 400. I've got 2 windows open now. Like I closed everything down. 2 windows open and 6 or 7 tabs. And guess what? It's still not working. So I told you Chrome hates me. But yeah, there is something here I was going to give you guys. If I can find the right one. Yeah, I thought I might give you this to have a bit of a go at. All right. So, I mean, you guys are probably going to have no trouble at all creating your own simple browser monitor or a ping monitor or something like that. So I kind of skip over the early labs and I'm just going to give you this one, which this is a really simple and easy way to just create a script that is going to go to a page, right? Look for a specific link text element and find something and then click. So here, go to about, click it, find home, click it. That's really all this does. Okay, so it's only an 8-minute lab. It's a pretty quick lab. Probably won't even take you 8 minutes because what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you all of this just so you guys can take it and have a bit of a play with it. I'll stick it in the chat window there. There you go. So that'll just give you a chance to go in and create a scripted browser monitor, name it for yourself, and all you have to do is go in and paste the text that I just put into the chat window there for you. So if you need the login details, I mean, if you want to do it in your own account, by all means, go off and do it in your own account. But if you need the login details for the Learn account, I can provide those for you guys as well. But yeah, I might give you a couple of minutes just now to run through that. And then when we come back, I'll probably, it's quite interesting because Ganesh, I didn't ask him what to demo, and he's decided to demo Catalan, and I never demo Catalan. I always demo Selenium. So it's worked out really well because he's kind of showed you Catalan, and then I'll show you Selenium in a second. And while you guys are doing,
for some reason, I always used Catalan.
I started with Catalan, and so Catalan's a bit easier to get started with. And one of the things I do like about it is that you can just export to screen. So I'm just one of those funny people, like, you know, I don't like that I have to end up with a file. right? Just output the script onto screen, and I'll just copy it all, paste it. Whereas Selenium outputs to a file, and then I have to open the file, and then I have to copy it all and paste. And that opening the file bit is just a bit of a nuisance for me. I don't know why it's problematic for me, but I don't like it. But there's a couple of things. You need 2 extensions with Selenium. You only need 1 extension with Catalan. I'll go through that in a minute.
Yeah.
So there is that, and that's why Catalan might be a bit easier. But the other reason why I went across to Selenium is because the script that gets generated with Catalan typically uses XPath for its locators, and that's not the optimal thing that we'd want to be doing, right? Whereas Selenium, I don't know what its preference is, but I know it doesn't prefer XPath in terms of locators. So it'll locate by CSS or by link or something, But we'll have a look at the output of that in a minute once you guys run through that. And while you guys are doing that lab, I am at the moment trying to find that link. Oh, where is it? For the sessions. I know it's here somewhere. Oh, yeah, there we go. Good. Found it. There you go. So you got that too. Let us know when you have finished just pasting that code in and saving a new monitor type. Okay, good. Looks like some of you are finishing up. Got it done already. Monitor created okay. It ran successfully. I hope. All right, good stuff. Okay, so I think we'll, it looks like, I think probably a few of you have finished now. So if you haven't finished and you need the instructions that are on screen, there's not really a lot on screen anyway, but if you do need what's there, I'd probably suggest you screenshot it. But the script is there in the chat window if you actually needed that. And what I'll do is, if you have finished doing that, I'm going to load up. I'll load up Selenium now and give you guys an example of how that works. All right, so I'll give you guys another lab straight after this, like just a quick one, just so that you guys can create your own script from scratch using either Selenium or Catalan, up to you. But let me share this out. So, all right, I'm navigating away from here now, guys. And I'm going to do that by firstly going to Chrome extensions. And let's have a look. Now, you want to look up Selenium. And sure enough, we get this guy here. So you notice that Selenium comes up and also Catalan comes up. So as I said, if you want to use Catalan, there's nothing wrong with it. Use it if you want. You only need the one extension. If you choose to use Selenium, you're going to need two extensions. One of them is the actual Selenium extension itself. The other one, the easiest way to get to it, so you've done a search for Selenium IDE, just type new Relic straight after that, and you will get the synthetics formatter for Selenium IDE. Okay, so this is the second one that you're going to need. Extension 1, Selenium IDE. Extension 2, synthetics formatter for Selenium IDE. Now, let's invoke this so that we can get a bit of a test working. There's my little extension up here in the top corner. Click on Selenium and it opens up a new window. And let's just say we're going to go a new test, new project. We're going to call it Project Z. Okay. And what's going to be our URL? Well, we might as well go with that one, right? So this is our familiar web portal. It's our telco app. And what it's going to do, hit start recording. At that moment, it will give me a new window, take me straight to this URL. So you can see it's recording down in the bottom corner. I've just loaded that home page. Now I can click on anything here if I want to. So I might say, look, let's learn more about flexible usage plans. So it's taking me to the plans page. Maybe I'll go to the about page. And maybe I even want to come and go to the login page, right? So let's say login, and we'll put in a username and password. We'll say Bob. What's the password? We'll call it Bob's password, right? And we hit login on that. Oh, look at that. See, there you go. So we've landed on this page here, okay? So I'll say not now. Definitely don't save this now. Interestingly, you notice when I'm doing that, it is recording those clicks, okay? This is a really good way to make it so your script doesn't work. Right? Because when it runs the check in the background, it's obviously not going to have things like Okta pop-ups and things going through. So just keep that kind of stuff in mind, right? If you're creating a script and recording absolutely everything, you might need to edit it afterwards. Anyway, you know what? We're done. Let's just let's go back to home and close that window off altogether. And we're going to stop the recording now. So we've already closed the window anyway. We'll call this there you go, Z test. We'll say okay. And you see here we've got what we did. So we opened the home page on web portal, right? It set the window size for us. Now look at this. See, we clicked, right? And it has, see, the locator has been defined via CSS, not XPath, right? If we want to, we can change it to an XPath link or an XPath href, right? Or a position down here as well. So, you know, you've got your different options there. But by default, it doesn't use XPath, right? So that's what I was talking about before. Anyway, we click there, we click on the About link. which was up the top. Then we clicked on the login, which was up the top. Then we clicked on the username field, and then we typed Bob. We typed Bob's password, but we actually even did a typo in Bob's password. So, and then you can see here, see, it's recorded a button, and it's recorded closing Okta. So, you know, I probably say like, well, you know what, you need to delete these. Right, and then we go back to home. Notice it's just recording my plain text password. So we're going to say, you know what, that's fine. We'll leave it as it is for the moment. If I had a typo, I could fix it, I guess, if I wanted to from here. And the next thing for me to do, because I have the synthetics formatter, I can come to the little ellipsis here. It's a bit hard to spot, but I can come up there and I can say export. It's going to export it with an option for New Relic synthetics. We do that, and it's going to then give me a file, right? So yeah, we'll call it Z. It's very, very descriptive. I like to, oh look, see, I've done this before. I like to name it something where I'm really going to understand what that means with just at a glance. Open up the JS file, and there is the script that has been generated for me, which is awesome. All I need to do is highlight all of it and copy. At this point, I can close that window, and I can jump back to here, which is where I have my New Relic instance open. So let's create a new monitor over here. Hopefully this works, because it is a live demo. I haven't practiced it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Really kind of depends on what I click and what I delete.
Like seriously, you know what happened? The Catalan, the extension that was not giving me the script, I removed it and then just added the new version of it, and it actually gave me the script.
Yep. Okay. That's all you had to do.
Yeah.
So you, it's funny. Now you notice, guys, I'm on the old view, right? So the old view is ping simple scripted API, right? It's still like that. We just have we've got a couple of UIs to make things, make some of the common things you might do, like a broken links monitor or an SSL monitor. You don't have to now write that script. The script is provided in the back end. So I'm going to just jump in here to the scripted browser check, which is what I've done. We'll call it Z because, hey, why not maintain consistency? Let's see, 15 minutes is good enough. Select location. We'll do Hong Kong and Brazil, and maybe we'll do Mumbai. There we go. And now we write our script. And I'm just going to do this. Select all, delete, paste, bang. And it drops the whole script in. So, I mean, there's a few things I really like about the Selenium script. I like that it will generate some really nice log messages for me that are wrapped around every single step that I create. So that's nice. And there's just a couple of other things I want to show you in doing this. So you notice that we've got plain text Bob here, plain text Bob's password. That's in the log text. And then the actual keys that we send are here. Send keys Bob, send keys Bob's password. So probably don't want that. Much more likely, we are going to want to insert a secure credential here. So let's do that. And how about we use the Acme username, which it just drops it there. And I need to take it out of that spot and stick it down here like that. So now I'm sending the value of that secure password. Right? I didn't mention it actually, but those passwords are stored in Amazon KMS, right? 256 AES bit, 256-bit AES encryption, all right, for the actual values. behind those passwords that are stored. Now I'm going to need to insert the Acme password, and it gives me that. So I grab that, pretty straightforward, and we replace Bob's password with some password that I actually really don't know. I have no idea what the thing is. Don't know, don't care. And here we're going to say type the Acme password, right? We'll do it like that. So now the username and the password, none of those values are actually in the script anywhere. And we get to do a validate. Moment of truth. Does it work? I kind of get a kind of a hit and miss on this. Sometimes it just works, sometimes it won't. Notice it's running it from Mumbai. Okay, that's not, I mean, it's by chance, but it's not entirely by chance. It will always pick one of the locations that you have defined. If I select 2, it'll only pick one of the 2. It'll never pick one of the 18 that you didn't select. So what it's done now, it's taken that little script that I generated on my laptop. I took that script, I sent it over to New Relic in the US. When I hit the validate button, it takes that little script and it sent it all the way to Mumbai. And there's a little minion somewhere there in a data center that is running that Selenium check right at that moment, and it has just finished. Yay, we're successful. How nice is that? And you see what it does. It shows me where it ended up. Okay, so it says, okay, your script ended here, and that's the page that I'm on, which is great, because if your script is failing and if it's erroring out somewhere, it will show you the page that's failed. It'll say, oh, I was running and I got to here and I couldn't run any further. And typically you'll see an actual error message on the screen right in this place. Now, a couple of other things that are good. So you saw me navigate around. Sure enough, we went to the home page, we went to plans, we went to about, we went to login. That's awesome. Right? Now, here is the script log as well. We haven't looked at this yet, but I can come over here to the script log, and I'm not 100% sure that it records all of this in Catalan, but as you can see, it definitely records it in Selenium. And what's really nice about it is that it does it has a timer for every single little step as well. So it's very descriptive, tells you exactly what it does. You probably want to have a pretty descriptive definition there for your test case, because you can see it sticks that value into the script log. But it's pretty cool because you can write the scripts and just define specifically what test case you're testing against, and it'll all be there in your logs. So I found that that whole thing is very easy to do. And you can see we've got our secure credentials being passed across. We don't actually see any of those values. Coming back to our waterfall, remember the terminology, okay? This is a synthetic monitor, one monitor that runs recurring checks on a schedule. Right now we have run a single check at 3:31 p.m. My time. And when I look down, I can see that one check resulted in 99 requests. Okay, so that's basically each one of these resources. We had to make a separate request to pull down all of the info that we needed to run through that script. Now, this is important as well, and I want us to finish with this stuff. So each one of these URLs is defined separately as a synthetic request. Okay, and I sometimes get people asking questions like, is there a way to do tests not against the whole, maybe not against the whole synthetic monitor, right? But you want to find out if one specific resource is erroring. And yeah, it's really, really easy to do that because as you can see, we get the individual HTTP response for every single resource that's coming down. And, as I mouse over, obviously I get the timing for every single element as well. So you can filter according to the individual pages. See, it gives you all the useful metrics here when you do that. Or just view everything that way. So yeah, there's definitely a way to identify the requests. Are the minions secure if you're logging in and seeing sensitive data? So I think you're referring specifically to the passwords, I guess, in terms of the login there. So yeah, I know. Okay, so the site data. Do you have any info on that, Ganesh, with regard to the actual site data itself? I mean, my understanding is at the end of the day, you've got a Selenium driver based on a Chrome browser, and your minion is going to have access to essentially anything any browser pointing at that URL will have access to.
That is correct. So the minion, how it works is it works on a different version of Chrome. I think it works on Chromium. That's a different version of Chrome. It provisions an instance of that and then runs everything on that and then just kills that instance. Yeah, so that's what minion does. Is there anything in specific other than that? The question is about?
I think the question is about the security of the minion itself, I guess.
Okay, the security of the minion. Never looked at that part of it.
I'm not sure either. I'd have to look up the docs on it to see if there's something very specific on it or not.
Because it's just going to be an instance of a customer's browser that you are trying to simulate on an instance. So as secure as your customer's information is, or as secure as your login process is on a browser, it's going to be the same. All the minion does is just open a browser and then do the steps that you define to do. So it should be as secure as what your customer facing application is. And the minion is, unless and until you are giving it, because while doing health checks, obviously you will not give the credentials that are super sensitive, that has like super admin access or something like that, right? So obviously you're going to give test credentials and limit the permissions to that one. So the security of the minion and the user flow and the sensitive data is as secure as you want to define it. That's how I look at it.
Yeah. I can't really add anything more to that. I mean, yeah, that's my understanding of it as well. Now, give me a second, guys. So I've just shown you how to do that in Selenium. Might give you guys a couple of minutes to, if you want to, you guys can run through this. So you'll be creating a scripted browser, essentially just following the steps that I've already guided you through. Okay, so if you've got Selenium, I mean, you can use Catalan if you want, not a problem. Use whichever one you're happier with. But yeah, create a project, record just a couple of steps. Don't do much. Just record a couple of steps, and then stop recording and paste it into a scripted browser check in New Relic. So I'll just leave it on this page because this one is the more comprehensive one. All right, and yeah, we'll give you just a couple of minutes to run through that, and then I think we'll finish up. I just want to maybe show you the event types that we've been talking about, so we can maybe run a couple of queries on them, or even define an alert condition against our alerts. So we'll be back in a couple of minutes to show you that before we finish up for the day. Okay, guys, let's have a look at the last thing we want to look at for today. Did you guys manage to create a scripted browser monitor okay? Was it all right? Let us know. So this is the monitor that I just created a couple of minutes ago. Okay, you can see it's done a couple of checks now, one from India, one from Brazil. Okay, so they've been successful. It says monitor created, monitor script created, it's all good. Okay, so let's have a little bit of a look at what we can see in terms of the data that's coming back. So we already know that each time this runs, it counts as a synthetic check. So there are two checks here, okay? And one's a 9.7 second check. The other one was a 10-second check. So we can see how long it took. We see how long it took, and we can see the response size as well. Okay, so that's the size of the data that came back from the synthetic check. Now, inside each check, we also know that there are a number of requests, quite a large number of requests actually, and this is for each of the individual resources that needs to be loaded for this script to run successfully. Okay, so what loads up here is really a function of the URL that you point at. Okay, because you navigate to a URL and you'll receive instructions to follow certain code, and it's going to require you to load up different assets from different places. So yeah, what appears here is as a result of the URL that you pointed at in the beginning. Now, in this case, we've got 100 requests that we can look at, right? And this is for just a single check. So if we come over here now, right, let's just see the data that comes back. So as you guys know, let's have a look. We'll say from if I start typing synthetic, you can see I've got synthetic checks and synthetic requests, and we know that they're two very different things. And I've also got private location status. So this would be a good one, right? And I've also got synthetic's private minion. So it would make sense for you guys to put some, I think I need to put something in front of that. It's going right past my, right past the camera. Let me move that's a bit better. Yeah. I'll change where I'm sitting. I just noticed that. So yeah, if you guys are setting up private locations, it probably makes sense for you to run some queries that you then define alerting against to tell you if your synthetic check has failed. If your synthetic minion is down, to fire an alert for you. Now, let's have a look at what we got here. So from sorry, wrong language. There we go. So from synthetic check, we'll do my favorite one, which is show me the table, right? Okay, sorry, not exactly what I wanted to do. That's showing me everything, right? I would rather look at the new monitor that I just created, right? So I'm going to say where monitor name equals Z. Right, that was the monitor that I made. So I'll run that. That's better. So now I'm looking at data that should be familiar to me because I created this scripted check, and sure enough, we know it's run twice. So this is the two checks that just ran. And you see it's even grabbed these fields test case and test case status based on the Selenium script that we imported. There we go. There's that 9.7 seconds and 10.8 seconds for the time that it took. What other info is collected in the check itself? The data center location, right? The location label, which is a bit easier to understand. The method of deployment, so this is done via Docker, and we've got the version of the minion. These were done on public minions, right? So not on our own private ones. and they both came up successfully, and we applied secure credentials during those 2 checks as well. Right, so that's the kind of info that we pull from a synthetic check. Now, if we look at the other one, now this is a bit more important if you're not, so if you're just wanting to see what's the status of my synthetic monitor, is the monitor working, not working, how long is it taking, you want synthetic check. If you want to drill down into the monitor and see individual stats on some of the resources, this would be where you'd use request. Now, when we look at this, now you can see I have an event for every single resource. So that one check that ran generates, in this case, 100 requests. So this table here should have somewhere around 200 records because I've run 2 checks so far. Okay, but this is where I can see if I want very specific individual info with regard to one of the URLs, right? I can isolate a whole domain. I've got timings, right, for each one of these requests that came through. So maybe I've got one resource on my site that's problematic, and I want to optimize that. So I want to put it into focus for a little bit. I might say something like, I don't know, maybe from synthetic request, select something like average duration, where the monitor name is that, and URL like something. I don't know. I'm just going to pick URL like logo small, just for something to do. If I do that, now I've got one specific resource from my site, from my check that I was running. So this script could go off and check a whole bunch of different things. And then I might actually decide to extract just a few resources from it and say, I really need to know that one, because we've been attempting to optimize a couple of things. So this allows me to pull those values out. I mean, of course, I could just do it this way, facet URL, right? Which will show me all of them, right? Oh, wow, look at that. That's text. Yeah. Yeah, Billboard may not be the best format for that output. Okay, that's a little nicer. Yeah. So here you go. I'm seeing from the slowest resource down to the fastest, just loaded out and displayed by URL for the specific synthetic request related to one monitor that I created. Now, why is this useful and how is this valuable to us? It's because anything that I do here can be alerted against. Okay, so I could just come here and go create an alert. And this is the last thing we wanted to show you guys, is that you see now it's already taken me in. It's saying, okay, here is a query that you've written. We give it a name, and we define very specific thresholds against what it is that we are attempting to be alerted against. Right, and then we save that condition. Oh, yep, the policy is invalid. I'm not surprised because I haven't defined it properly. But I was really just showing that, yes, you can write any query. I just wanted to show you the 2 most relevant tables there, synthetic check, synthetic request. And you can go off and write any query there that's going to make sense that you might want to be alerted against. Why it's particularly important for synthetics is because if you just go with the out of the box alerting for synthetics and I go add a condition, I only really get two choices: single location failure, multiple location failure. So if you want to be alerted on things like, actually my synthetic check ran and it was successful, but it took way longer than it should have taken, alert me on it. Out of the box, like just looking at synthetics here, there's no way to do that. So you need to come in via NURCL. You say from synthetic check, select the average duration that's above a certain amount for a particular monitor type. That's your condition. Guys, it's 4 o'clock. I managed to find, I showed you the last thing I wanted to show you, which is good. We haven't missed it. I know some of you guys are probably going to have to drop off immediately. So yeah, sorry, we're 1 minute over time. Probably have other meetings to go to. But look, I hope you have enjoyed the sessions. And importantly, I hope that you've learned, well, I'd like to think you've learned a whole lot of stuff about the New Relic platform. So yeah, we'd really love some feedback there. Don't forget, I did respond in one of the chat windows there. There is a full stack observability exam that you guys may want to sit, right, which will give you a little New Relic certification, right? So just go to, well, the easiest way is you just look up New Relic FSO certification. Right, full stack observability. Okay, it'll take you straight to the, well, it should take you straight to the thing. Yeah, I think it's here. This is the old page, but from here you will find it, right? If I go back to home. There you go. It's down on the bottom of, if you go to learn.newrelic.com and right down the bottom, you can see there is a free exam that you can now sit, full stack observability. I would like to think that having been through the fundamentals course, we have covered so many different topics here, and you should be pretty well prepared to be able to register for that and successfully pass the exam. So I wish you good luck, and look forward to seeing you guys on another training in future. And special thanks to Ganesh for keeping me company for the last 6 weeks.
No worries. It was a great learning for me as well, Dan. And I see great enthusiasm from all the participants. There are a lot of questions coming in every session. Again, great learning for us. There are a few questions which we never thought about, and these questions definitely let us think in that angle as well. Fantastic. Thank you so much, everyone who took time to join the session. And we hope you learned enough and you want to learn more on New Relic.
Definitely. And for those of you guys, that are thinking I'm going to send you a link, I'm not going to do that. I have sent it in the in this session. Okay, it's in the chat window. Let me know if you can't see it. Okay, I have. If you're looking for the download link, like for the previous sessions, it's in this session. You're not going to get an email about it. Okay, so make sure you get that before you drop off. Okay, I sent it through at 3:17. If you had a connection problem, I'll just paste it again. So it's right there in the chat this second. Okay. If you need the recordings, they're there. All of them. Today's one obviously is not there yet, but it will be uploaded to that same location. Okay. All right. I'll sign out and we'll drop off now. Thanks very much, guys. Really appreciate your attendance for each of these sessions, and very glad that you got a lot of value out of the course. We really appreciate it. So thanks, and look forward to seeing you.
Thank you.
Very soon.
Bye.